Welcome to Projects from the Bottom Drawer. My name is Brian, and you can find us at wearboard.com/projects. I still have the EICO 150 signal tracer on the bench. Yesterday and the day before, we diagnosed that the speaker has a short. It is about 0.33 ohms of impedance instead of the expected 8. Substituted in a different speaker, and most of the volume immediately came back. So I'm waiting on a proper size speaker for that right now. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and replace a couple of other parts that I know are eventually going to be problematic. In this case, these two greenish blue capacitors, I'm not sure what construction these are, but I've seen other EICO devices where these were simply a dead short. Now, these are rated high enough that I don't think that would happen here, as the other device was a vacuum device, but I'm going to replace them anyway, as I have some good 0.22s. I'm also going to replace the 10K in this circuit just because I'm in there, so I have a nice metal film 10K, and this 0.1, or rather 0.01 input capacitor. Again, not sure what the construction type is, but I have a nice 400 volt plastic film for that one. In the meantime, the speaker is just going to hang free, so I'm not going to be able to do much testing on this after we're done. I'm also going to replace this wire that goes from the meter circuit to this little filter circuit. The original kit builder left this very tight. I don't like the way this looks, and it's kind of messy down here. And I'm also going to replace this little piece of red wire which runs down underneath the chassis. To the output transistor, which itself is eventually going to get replaced because this thing's probably been stressed quite a bit from that shorted speaker. Surprisingly, the output transformer appears to still be good, even though, as we've found in the past, the color coding on the device itself is indeed incorrect. So there's really not going to be much else said during this. I'm just going to go ahead and replace the parts. So let's start with the 0.01. Single-sided board, it wicks easily. Sometimes. Sometimes you just need to add a little bit of fresh solder to it to get it to flow properly. Don't be afraid to do that. All right, there's the part. Let's clean those pads up a little. All right. It looks like that is narrow enough of a part. that we can just put it in without sticking it up. Let's see if I can figure out what size that is. Looks like it's the smallest on my bender. So let's bend that so the labeling is up where we can see it when we put it in. Yeah, that's a bit too big, unfortunately. 0.8 is not the right size. So does that other one... And I'm not going to have the right kind of bender, so we'll just have to bend this one by hand. I'll leave one of the sides bent by the bender. Gently move that other one back up with the non-serrated portion of the pliers. Bend again. Put it in. Much better. Always remember, form, and that isn't marked. Nope, that's not marked. Okay, good. Form, cut, solder. That way your joints are good. There's no chance of them being cracked. And you're following very particular industry standards. All right, very good. So that part is replaced. We'll set this one aside for testing later. Now let's do this green 0.22. Let's see if I can do this without burning wire. Let's see, that is that one and that one. Or is it? Okay, no, you are the one right below where I was hitting. Yep, I got warm. Let's see. We should be able to just pull this one out. There we go. And this other side should be right. Okay, so we've got two right next to it, so that would be you, I believe. No? Am I hitting the right one? There we go. Like playing Operation. And there we go, part. We'll put that back there for check later. And I am out of wick in that spool. All right, all clean. Let's see, what kind of wick do I want to use here? Let's add some of this finest Chinesium wick. That should work. It looks nice and tightly woven. So, now that I have that part out, let's see, how does that fit? All right, so we're going to need to do the same thing we did to the electrolytics, and that's bring them down and bend them out and then bend them down again. So we will give them a little room to bend. And let's see, did I get enough of an indent there? Yeah, let's bend that one, make that. And again, I'm going to mount these so you can see them when they're in and tell what value they are. And it's always good practice to do that. That way you're never left guessing if you have to look at it and go, what part is that? Or try and, got a little off to one side, but not terribly concerned about that. Okay, let's see. We'll try and do a little better on the next one. All right, form. Use my orange stick. Cut. Looks good, looks good. And solder. Get the wire out of the way there. Go play a game of operation again. And these are taking solder much better than the other ones did. Those pulled out and didn't look like they were very well wetted. All right, form, cut, solder. Brand new film cap. Let's put all the other ones back neat. And that little film over here, a little bit of solder wicked up through the hole, kind of made like a little peak. So I'm just going to hit that, get rid of that, because I don't want that solder antenna laying there, because it's probably not connected. All right, so the next part is this little circuit over here. And the black wire to the meter. Oh, actually I see some green corrosion there, but this black wire is just kind of laid onto the terminal. I can see the strands of the wire splayed out. So we're going to remove that and replace it Maybe more. There we go. Ooh, yeah, that meter tab is very delicate. So let's gently peel that apart with the iron. Clean that up. Straighten that up just a hair. I don't know why they bent it back like that, but hey, whatever. This one's kind of sucky too. But it looks like they've got all the wires down here on the ground tap through and proper. Even though I am going to trim that down a little bit. All right, so let's get those parts off of that terminal strip. Okay, there's our piece of wire. What I'm going to do is just take my new wire, attach it, run it down, and then when I get a new transistor for the bottom, I'll do it all at once. But I'm not going to reconnect things until I get that new transistor. All right. See if we can peel that wire out of there. Yeah. Just cut the part. I mean, it's not like we're gonna do anything with that part anyway, other than throw it in the test bin. Let's clean that up. Get you out of there, Mr. 10K. All right, nice clean terminal. So how is the one next door wired? Yep, need a little bit of solder. All right, part out. We'll check that one later. Let's get the capacitor unhooked from this end. And maybe that green, I think that green's just reflection from the part. It's looks like it's come pre-corroded. All right. Looks like we might be able to get that off there now. All right, I think I've broken the terminal or the lead free. Perhaps, yeah, looks like we got it. Bend that around. Push that down with the orange stick. Pull it out. Yep, verify that it is indeed 0.22, and it is. See, that was one I couldn't see, so I was trusting the schematic to be correct. And as we found, the schematic isn't always necessarily correct on this one. So the last terminal here also has a germanium diode on it. Now it's far enough away that we're probably fine. And do I still have... Yes, I still have a little heatsink clip here. Germanium diodes, germanium transistors, they tend to be a bit more sensitive to heat than silicon. This is late enough in the manufacture of the germanium age, so it's probably fine to hit it with a little bit of heat. But anything from like the 50s, those very early germaniums, I mean, you look at them wrong and get them too hot, and you've ruined them. So germaniums, as a rule, you want to be pretty careful with. It's just good practice, and it's good practice with all your parts. Get in, get out, and don't let your iron linger on the part. But what I'm going to do anyway is I'm going to take this little Rat Shack heatsink clip, which probably never really did a thing, clip it on that diode, and hopefully that will absorb some of the heat we're sending back there towards the diode itself. In theory, I never really saw those work very well, but hey, whatever. So let's push a piece of wire out of the way. And this joint looks pretty shiny, so it might have been worked on more recently than the rest. And as you're taking solder off with a wick, and you get too much and then can't get a good connection to take the rest off, don't be afraid to add a little more back into the joint. I mean, this isn't a competition to see who can get the solder off the quickest. You want to make sure it's clean and proper. So it looks like, okay, that one is the diode. I don't want to take that one off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the joint. I'm going to kind of push the part back that I want and break it free. And I'm going to move it until the solder cools and it doesn't cure into the part. Let's see if I can... Okay. Heatsink clip, get off there. Are you even warm? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so it did its job. So I'm going to try and take my diagonals, or my shear cutters rather, and grab hold of that lead. And try to pull it up, which I'm not doing a good job of. So I'm just going to move the diode lead out of the way. And I guess I'm saying more than I thought I would, so yeah, take that for whatever it's worth. Yeah, you are not cooperating there. And there my cutters are starting to get a little dull. They are getting pretty old. There we go. And there's the other part. So let's see. Diode, I want you to go over here. We'll push you down with the orange stick. I guess we won't. Let's push you down with the pliers. Get a nice mechanical crimp on that. And let's see. Tidy up the terminals. Okay, that's not very tight. What we got on the bottom of that? Nope, a little bit too much. All right. That was just a little bit not tight, but since this isn't a grounding terminal strip, we're not terribly worried about that. Let's see. I'm actually going to use yellow as a replacement for that meter, because it's not ground, that's the signal. So there's the wire for that. Okay, here's our parts. 10K, 0.22. Alrighty. Ah, the other one's already installed. Yeah. So let's see. 10K. We will put you... So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this on the outside of the terminal and wrap them in. And let's see. So I can do this without making a mess of things. right. Not as neat as I'd wanted, but not bad. Not bad. So we'll take our red wire. And again, I'm just going to connect it to this side and shove it down into the hole, because I'm not going to connect it on the bottom until I can replace that other transistor. All right. Wrap around. Trim a little because it's just a bit too long. Make the wire nice and straight. And that's not very tight, so let me turn this toward me so I can make it a little tighter there. Get a nice 270 wrap on that. Let's see, let's bring it up so everybody's nice and neat and level. And solder. And I am using 20 gauge wire here. You could probably use 22. That's just what I have. All right. So the solder is on the terminal. Just put enough on to cover the terminal around the wires. You can still see the wire and the solder. You don't want to go too crazy on that. But usually if you can get, where are you coming through at? If you can get enough on there that you've got a nice fillet around the wires themselves, you're probably good. So let's give ourselves why are you not cooperating with me, wire? There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little bit of a bulge there, just in case, you need to come back and work on that later. So let's see, capacitor. All right, you are not in the right place, but let's put our yellow wire for our meter on first. And let's see. And on this, I'm just going to push it through and get a nice little pip of solder on there. I don't want to try and bend this thing too much because it's not in the best of shape to start with. So let's, all right, go down a little farther. Just a little farther. All right, I think that will do us. Get a little bit of, and this transformer here, that's the substitution transformer for transistor and plate circuits. So you don't really have to, excuse me, worry about any AC coupling into that. Your AC power transformer is right here. So I'm going to, let's see, let's go ahead and form this wire a little bit. How do I want to do that? Let's get Mr. Diode off here first, since it is unsoldered. That'll give us the ability to work with this area a little bit nicer, instead of trying to work around another part. I mean, if you have a part out of the way, it's always best to try and do whatever you can without that part in there before you start adding other stuff. Come on, I know you want to bend. Get in there. There we go. Unwrap that wrap. Gently pull Mr. Diode out of here. And if you do end up replacing this diode, you're probably going to find a Russian germanium. Those are all marked backwards from what you would expect for a US standard diode. Just be aware. All right, so let's put this wire on here. We'll push against so it doesn't bend out. Maybe. Need 3 hands here. Okay, wrap around. Let's trim a little. Yeah, my flush cutters are starting to wear out. They are pretty old. And we get a nice wrap on that terminal. And up here, we get a nice loop. If we ever need to take it off, we can do that easily. I'm not going to solder that yet because we're probably still going to be moving around down here. So I'm going to put the diode back in, except this time, let's see, can I wrap it around the side easily? Not easily, but we'll get it. Yeah, that's not going to work. Let's do it back around the top where it was. We'll move it out of the way for now. I want to put the capacitor in first. And this one is going to need to be formed just like the other one. So we'll bend it. Get a nice flying lead shape here. And let's see here. Nope, my headset has died, so I'll need to charge that up. Let's see here. Well, Mr. Diode, you shouldn't be there. Nope. Let's see. No, I didn't get a good enough mark on it. That should do it. Let's see, we want to bend back around. Let's see. A little too much there. All right, I think that will do. Let's see, let's push around with the orange stick. All right, nice tight wrap. Let's cut that. Give it a nice little crimp. And now the other side. Let's see. Let's push that down some. There we go. And this one I'm going to leave out just a bit because the resistor is there. Can I get you out of here around like that? See, come on, I know I can get you. Well, it's going to be fun getting these off if anybody ever has to take them off, but probably just be easiest to cut them off. All right, so I've got, let's push this up against the resistor lead. Okay, it leaves a little bit of space there for that terminal, behind the wire behind it. And let's clean up the diode now. And then we'll just put it back the way it was with the wire wrapped around the top. No, not going to do it that way. Wrap you around, catch you with the stick. And there we go. Now let's solder the rest of it in. It's not a good joint. Let's go in this way. There we go. Feed it into the joint. Okay, get you out of there. Don't want you getting burnt. Okay, you've got a good solder joint. You got a good joint, and you've got a good joint. So now we have mostly new capacitors. I'm not going to worry about the ceramic discs. Ceramic discs don't tend to go bad. There's new capacitors here, all the electrolytics underneath. Let's solder in the meter wire here. And again, I'm just going to, I'm going to give that just a slight bend around. Nothing fancy, just enough so it kind of holds itself in place. But that meter lead is very, very thin and completely unobtainable. All right, so now we have a nice new meter lead running in. All right, well, until I get the replacement speaker, that is all I can do for now. Please find us at wearabore.com/projects, where you'll find this device and many others. And thank you for joining us today.